When people think about Las Vegas, they think about all the exciting development and redevelopment here. But part of the Las Vegas story takes place in Henderson. And the heart of Henderson is Water Street. My guest is intimately involved with Water Street. He's architect Windom Kimsey, who, along with his wife and Elisa Polk, have opened Azzurra Cucina Italiana, serving Italian classics in Henderson's reimagined Water Street. For everything about Azzurra Cucina Italiana, go to azzurracucina.com, and you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook. And Windom, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
You have a great background as an architect, and I want to get into that a little bit and then get into what drew you to Water Street. Tell us a little bit about, for those who don't know about you, because not only are people in Las Vegas listening and watching, but around the world. So give us a sense of your background and then how you ended up in Las Vegas, and then specifically what drew you to Water Street.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick trajectory. I grew up in Tennessee, went to college in Michigan, in Ann Arbor for 6 years, moved to Chicago, became a licensed architect and worked there for about 5 years. And one of my good friends from college was originally from Las Vegas and enticed me to move out here. And I haven't looked back since. And that was in 1989. So perspective here was basically when the Mirage, which is soon going to leave us,
Exactly.
the Mirage was being built. So that's sort of my landmark project as an architect that happened when I moved here.
When you look at your career as an architect, some architects are noted for certain styles. Do you have a particular style that you go for in designing? I know that you're very much involved in public spaces, education, institutions, etc.
Yeah, I think you're right, designing for the public, but in terms of style, it's really more about thinking a lot about some of our abundant resource here, daylight. We do a lot of things with natural light that make the buildings inherently energy efficient, but also creating public spaces that, people like to be in, right? McCarran Airport D gates and other more public buildings. We worked on the Las Vegas Convention Center, the new West Hall expansion, and just trying to create through architecture, right, a sense of community and things people can be proud of, and also make their lives easier when they have to go in there, like doing a DMV, for example.
Yes, that's always fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned the D gates, and I agree with you. When you go into the D gates at the International Airport here in Las Vegas, it is a spacious feel, and it's a comfortable, spacious feel. It's not just spacious in the sense that you feel dwarfed by
Right.
it, just more of a, I don't know, there's an energy there that I don't see in other terminals. Does that make sense, the way I'm explaining it as a layman?
No, I think you are. I sort of the inspiration for that was, traveling to Europe and seeing some of their great train stations and things. And to me, the airports and things that emulate some of that, traveling should be a special celebrated experience. Shouldn't always be shuffling off somewhere for work and coming back through. I mean, in the US in particular, we're probably behind the world in terms of our terminal design. There's some really nice ones, but when you leave the United States and see how some other people welcome you. And so when I did that project, Bob Broadbent was the director, and he said, look, here's that, this is Las Vegas. Make people feel like, they're coming somewhere special. And that was, I was like in my 30s, and I'm like, man, what a great commission to work on. We had so much fun doing it. So probably my favorite project I've ever worked on.
It's funny, you beat me to my question, which was, what's your favorite project? But that's it.
Yeah, I've done a lot of them, and some are definitely, but that one, maybe it's just so many people get to see it and experience it, and I do it myself too, right? And I see how it's changed over the years and everything.
Is there a little plaque buried somewhere in the D gates that I missed that has your name on it by any chance?
Yeah, it's probably there somewhere. It'd have to be in the I know we did something, but back then we were Tate and Snyder Architects, my two former partners. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice to have it there just so you can point out to children and grandchildren and relatives. And
I like being stealth. I'll be honest with you. I like being stealthy and kind of, so you can be there. And, I love listening to people talk about it or look around, and, if they're lost even, which generally is the problem, but, it's kind of cool being, like a fly on the wall, right? listen to people talk about things. Same way with the restaurant, right? The fly on the wall thing. I like being anonymous and being in spaces that you've designed.
I want to get to the restaurant in a moment because that's not the only part of Water Street that you're involved in. So let's go from what your interest was in when you first moved to Las Vegas, and you really this is now home, and now you set your focus on Water Street. And a lot of people don't know about Water Street, but that's really the historic part of Henderson, which is a major city in Southern Nevada.
It is. And, look, I'm going to be, guilty as charged, but I didn't really know much about Water Street. I think I had to come and back in the day and get a new cable box from Cox down there by Fleming Bakery or whatever. And it wasn't until we were working with the city of Henderson on a space and science center, which wasn't ever realized. But, I was looking at where the city was looking at some sites. I think the original site was over by Henderson Hospital. And I'm like, well, that's a weird place to have a science museum or whatever. But I started coming to meetings downtown the city, and I'm like, and I'm a cyclist. So I was cycling here a few times and looking for coffee and stuff. And there was a place that was open on Water Street intermittently that I would stop at. But looking around, you realize, like, this street's got a lot of potential. And it had to, because it was originally, I would imagine, the past heyday of Water Street was probably, I'm thinking, in the 50s, right? I mean, I look at some of these old photos Henderson has, and there was movie theater where I believe Rainbow Casino is, and
right. I think there was a Sears there too at one point.
Yeah, and all these other places. There was what was the burger? Not having grown up in Henderson, but I've met plenty of people have and told me about all the places down here. But to me, the scale of it, and my influence was the time I spent probably in Chicago, which was in sort of neighborhoods that you walk around a block and there's a bakery, there's a restaurant, a bar, or whatever, and much more sort of walkable places where garages are on the backside. So it's like creating these streets for people to be out on. And so Water Street seemed to have, some of the right architects like to use the word bones or whatever, but it had the infrastructure there to be something. And, that's kind of what, so we were looking at Space and Science Center. I said, hey, have y'all thought about putting it on Water Street? So we did some explorations of that. We did we call it a charrette, or a public workshop, right? That our architecture firm with the city sort of put on, and had people come and talk about Water Street and things they wanted to see and what it should have and what it should look like. And, I'd never thought about being down here at that time. But the little light bulb went off after going through. I'm like, why don't we move our office down here? Because we were at a point where that was a point in the, with our business that, it made sense maybe to have a new office. And, the city had a redevelopment program that worked with me on, I purchased the land from the city. We got some grant money to help build the office, and that's kind of took off from there. And, a lot of things have come in since then, but I'll throw a shout out to Tim Brooks. At the time, he owned the the Emerald Island Casino, now the Rainbow and Emerald Island Casino. But, he put some investment in there and really, really was committed to downtown. And I got to know him through the Henderson Chamber. And, he kind of gave me the confidence to, jump off the diving board.
You have then clients visit you there in the new offices on Water Street?
Yeah. And, it's funny. People come like, oh, I didn't know there was anything going on here. Truthfully, you still get that a lot. Water Street's even interesting because people come, kudos to Juan's and his flaming fajitas, but he brings a lot of people down there, but they're right at the edge, right? And they don't drive up the street. But Lifeguard now, a lot of people are coming down there to do, take their kids to hockey practice or league games and things. So it's getting a lot of exposure, and, a lot of people are investing. New hotel coming. Joe DeSimone's doing a brand new hotel next to Lifeguard. The new apartment buildings at Watermark are going to open later this year. So I'm excited. And, for me, it's like, I feel like I'm sprinkling this, Johnny Appleseed or something, put some of these things out there. I don't have the bandwidth to do these super large projects. I can do like small sort of micro projects
Well,
that,
I don't know. The D gates are pretty big.
well, designing them. I meant developing them. The stuff I've done
Okay,
in Henderson, I've paid for and
fair enough.
developed.
Fair
No,
enough.
the D gates were big, and I'd say the convention center is probably even maybe a little larger. So
Now, before we get to the restaurant, there was an intermediate step, which was the coffee shop.
yeah, and honestly, when I'd mentioned before about cycling down here, and cyclists like coffee, and I'm like, man, it'd be great to have a coffee shop. But the idea really came from one of the architects in our office, and he said, wouldn't it be cool to have a coffee shop of our own? And great for business development. Everybody come in and
The light bulb went on. And
kind of how it happened. I had somebody that was coming in as a tenant to do the coffee shop, and they decided to go do their next door somewhere else. And so I just kind of talked to the guys at the coffee shop I went to all the time. They're like, hey, we can run it for you. I mean, look, trust me, there was no like elaborate business plan or anything. It was a bit of a like, what the heck, let's do it. And so this will be our 6th year.
It's amazing.
Here at Public Works Coffee. But I've learned a lot because I'm an architect by trade, and these other businesses are things that I have to learn a lot more about, and
Right.
they're very, very different.
Yeah, there is a learning curve, not only with the coffee shop, but with the restaurant, which I want to get into with you in a moment. One more thing about the coffee shop. So did you find that the support for the coffee shop came not only from, as you mentioned, cyclists that want some caffeine, but locals that saw what was happening on Water Street and look, there's a new coffee shop. It's kind
I think I can't imagine, we get so many people that have just never been downtown before. And they come in, and part of it's using the coffee shop as a tool to raise awareness about downtown. And I know partnered a lot of times with the city on events to get people to come in and see it and see what it's like, because really you're kind of just setting an example for others, and to add. And I guess we're getting another coffee shop on the street in this new apartment building, and but it's drawn some people, but it's different. I mean, we'll get to it, but the coffee shop, we got a lot of people that work at the city, and they're big supporters, and they come over a lot, and they can walk. They don't have to get in their car. They don't have to do a drive-through, and that's the whole point for me, is getting people walking in a neighborhood.
Of course, now the only negative part about it is the fact that you don't get the bicycle to work anymore because you are there already.
Yeah, no, you don't do that. Although the commute's pretty nice. It's under 30 seconds easily.
If you go over 30 seconds, you get a ticket for speeding.
Right.
To go there. So now you decide, okay, this coffee shop's working out really well. Now we're going to open up a restaurant. Now there's all kinds of restaurants one could open with. How did you decide on an Italian restaurant serving Italian classics? And 2, how did you come up with the name? And 3, you roped your wife into this one.
I've roped her into all of them.
Okay.
I'm not sure she's always a willing participant when we start on it, but I'm pretty sure she enjoys it afterwards. So it's been good. And it's very, since you're a family and you're living there, it's best to have her engaged.
Absolutely. So how did you decide on a restaurant and then of course an Italian?
So I decided, well, I built, my original plan was to build 3 of these 3-story multifamily housing project down here next to the office. And it got kind of expensive to build, so I ended up doing 2. One on my live-in. It does have an apartment attached to it over the garage, and then I built a 3-flat next to it. But the ground floor, in keeping with the city's in the Water Street district, is to have mixed use. So, and I'll be honest with you, I went through a few iterations of what that mixed use should be. I mean, originally we were thinking some live work, and somebody would rent one of the apartments, and that would be like where they open their business. And then my idea was a wine bar. That one went a little ways. And then, just like my coffee shop, the person that was interested in the wine bar did something else, but they did it in another place. So I'm like, okay, I can handle that.
Sure,
and
you
then
got the coffee shop. Why not?
Yeah, so even toyed with the idea of ice cream with some folks. But what happened was I was at an event for the Golden Knights, a sort of a donor sponsorship luncheon, and I was talking with the guy next to me, and I don't even remember his name, but we were talking about like restaurants. You know, you just get talking about places, and we were both reminiscent about a restaurant called Italian that was up on Eastern, close to the Anthem Country Club where I lived for a long time. And you know, just on a whim, I just texted Walter, who's the general manager of the restaurant, and I said, "Hey, you ready to look at Water Street?" Because I'm always talking to everybody at Water Street, and I figured he'd be like, "Yeah, you know, we're doing this." He goes, "Yeah, we should meet." And I'll be honest with you, that there wasn't any like grand blueprint or plan other than his interest and my interest in him and his wife because of the food and what my life used to be like when I lived near their other restaurant. I would go twice a week, and it was always a sort of almost like going to a dinner party. You'd know half the people in there. They treat you like family, and it was just it was a great experience. That's why we went, both on the food and just you know, how you felt going somewhere. So you know, I thought about it, and I said, if I could really recreate something like that down on Water Street, it would certainly open people's eyes to the neighborhood a little more, because there's nothing like it down here, and there's definitely nothing like it down here, I know now, and talking to customers that come. And but that was really kind of how it happened, and I got in deeper and deeper as we went. And I, you know, being a designer and doing the space, you know, I'm trying to, you know, I've seen so many restaurants around the world. I've been to Italy a lot of times, so I tried to like take all that stuff sort of up there in the attic and use some of it, and on a budget, you know, not so crazy. I mean, because when you're here in Las Vegas, you go to a lot of places at the you know, casinos and things, and the restaurant designs just they're amazing. We have so many places that are just incredible. And so, you know, how do you compete with that? But you got to do it on less of a budget, but also not to be, you know, what, you know, elevate the experience from what a lot of people could get in Henderson. And I would say that's happened.
So
Definitely.
your next step then is to get a chef, because you're not going to be cooking back there.
No, we have a chef. We have Alessandra Madera. That's Walter's wife, and she's unbelievable. I mean, she cares so much about her cooking, and it's not, you know, and like I said, I've traveled a lot of places, and you know, and I go try a lot of the new restaurants here and things. But what she cooks very well, very consistent, and there's not a bad dish on the menu. I mean, which is, you know, you go to a lot of places, you're like, yeah, I really like the salmon over here, but you know, that pasta was kind of so. But she is consistently spot on, and it's the two of them, and they brought back a couple of their waiters that worked with them before, so it's not exactly the same. Maybe it's better, you know.
And of course, whenever you're in the mood for Italian food, all you have to do is walk 30 feet and
So you ask yourself the question, how often should you eat it? Well, you want to cook, you want to quit cooking altogether. But yeah, you know, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be that person there every night. So I think we're on like a 1 to 2 times a week schedule.
that sounds reasonable. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could get a bit much. And your wife's in it as well, as we talked about, because she's involved with that as well as the other we talked about.
Yes.
When you decided to design this restaurant, you mentioned about going up in the attic and getting things. Is the idea is to create a mood of a typical Italian restaurant in Italy and then have the food match that design, or am I wrong in this?
Well, I think the food, they developed the menu. I mean, and they've taken some things that came from their former restaurant, but added new things. But there's a lot, like some of the classics from another restaurant are well, they're classic dishes anyway, like chicken parmesan and things like that. But no, the design was really, I really wanted to. I mean, they didn't come to me and say, "Hey, you should design it this way." And you know, I didn't even think about the former restaurant. And when it came to design, you know, I wanted to think about what would make people feel good in a space, intimate, and you know, like I was just in Milan last summer. Milan is known for, fashion and design and all that. So pretty much almost all the materials in there are from Italy, the tiles and things. But there, but try to keep it. Milan's the northern part of Italy is a lot more industry and things. And so it's not that, I mean, when you come in some Italian restaurants, it feels all rustic charm. This is a little more Milan's businessy, right? So it's got a nice charm to it with a few quirks, but it's, materials and things are much more modern.
Now, does it complement with an E? Does it complement the coffee shop and your offices in terms of the exterior, or is it totally different? So
no, the exterior is all complementary, but when you come inside, it's completely different, right? And there's some unique paintings I had commissioned by Italian artists in there. And I really wanted to but not like paintings of like Como or something like that. They're actually paintings of our dogs, my wife's and our dogs, wearing Renaissance clothing with food from the different cities floating in the air. They're unique, but the guy's got kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of doing his paintings. I've seen his work before, so I commissioned him to do those, and people love those. I mean, most people love dogs, so I don't think I could go wrong with that. It has nothing to do with the food or anything, but it's sort of a little bit of like you take a nice sort of clean modern design and add a little whimsy in there. The ceiling is very acoustic, but it's not super high. I know a lot of restaurants I go in and I feel like I'm in a warehouse. It just doesn't feel intimate. This, you could be in someone's house. You feel like you'd be in someone's having a big dinner party or something. That's how it feels like to me when I go over there, and I can't go without knowing someone. And it's not that I know everybody in Henderson. It's just there's so many regular people that follow the chef and her husband Walter that they come regularly, and that's what's really cool to me is that loyalty.
Sure, repeat business too.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to become what do you think about the honorary mayor of Water Street? Does that?
I don't want to say no. I know the mayor. She's awesome. She doesn't need me as honorary mayor. I just want to be the guide that I would love to like pick what comes next. But that's the market. But
Right.
Who knows? But I may have something next too. Give it a year or so, and we'll see.
Have you focused yet on the market segment for Azzurra Cucina Italiana? In the sense of locals, meaning hyper local Henderson, or the wider Las Vegas Valley?
We get wider Las Vegas for sure, but it's a drive. Like if I'm going to go eat in Summerlin, I got to really plan. It's a long, from here, it's 40-minute drive. You got to get back. So we do get a lot of Henderson folks, like Lake Las Vegas, Cadence, all over Henderson, but we do cast our net a little further and out of town people. I met some restaurant owners from Canada the other night that had heard about it and came in and just wanted to check it out. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Do you think that people, it's a not an anomaly so much as seems to be the case, that visitors who fly in from far away have no problem then once they're here in Las Vegas getting out to Henderson and to Water Street to your restaurant, versus locals who may live in Summerlin and, as you said, have to plan out the day, whether they want to spend 40 minutes in traffic and plus 40 minutes back and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I would love to see more people. When I travel, for example, if I go to Italy, I'll spend time researching the different restaurants and, cross-referencing reviews because one may be really good, try to get some lists of places you want to go try out. And I would love for us to be on that list. It's a tough crowd here in Vegas because you're all the celebrity chefs,
right?
But at our restaurant, our chef actually makes your food.
That's true,
and that means something. And she cares about what she makes. She really does.
Is there one dish on the menu that stands out among the others? I know they're all good from your point of view, but is there one that, for want of a better term, is the signature dish?
I'm going to say it's the pork chop agrodolce. And, people just come and I haven't seen anybody, they rave about the pork chop and they come to the restaurant for that. And interesting, we were just reviewing, seeing what people are ordering last week and kind of getting a feel for things, but it's a lot of the steak and pork and seafood and those things that people, much more than the pasta, which is just interesting to me. But there's a lot of restaurants have much broader menu and lots of things, but I think doing a few, I'm not saying it's a few dishes, there's a lot on the menu, but doing what you do it well, and don't try to overstretch yourself. And I think that's part of their success, on the chef's success, and Walter on creating the menu with me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's good that you're limiting yourself to twice a week, because otherwise the profits would all be eaten.
Yeah, trust me, when I'm in there, I think that's what I think about. But I learned something. My friend Tim Brooks, that has the 2 casinos down here, and he has restaurants in there. And he said, when you have your own restaurant, which I never have before, you don't you enjoy it, but you have trouble enjoying it because you're like watching everybody, watching how the service is. You want to see if people are having fun, they're enjoying their food. So my wife's like, you're like not paying attention. I'm like, I just want to overhear what people are saying. It's like designing a building, right? I love hear what people say about it. And same with the restaurant. It's nice, and I've been pleasantly surprised. I mean, people are really enjoying it and coming back. So we're on reservation only right now. I think you got to at least be planning a week or two in advance.
That's great news if you're on reservations only at this point.
Yeah, we had a flood of people come in at the beginning, and it just couldn't handle it's just too much.
Right. How many seats in the restaurant?
In the restaurant, we have 9 tables, so it's under 30, like 20, 28 or something like that. A lot of people eat at the bar, but
Right.
outdoors this weekend, we were able to open the outdoors finally, our exterior patio, and there's like 40 seats out there. So we end up we had, I think, 100 people dine there on Saturday night going through. So it's not really big, right? And and then but it's awesome because it doesn't feel like you're in a place, and there's like 10 empty tables because there's 30 tables in there or something, right?
I asked you how many seats, and I probably should have said tables, but then I was factoring in the bar while I was asking the question. So
9 tables and 6 seats at the bar.
Okay. That. And the tables seat how many though? 4 or 2?
No, we have 2s and 4s.
2s and 4s.
I think total inside we're just like 28 seats, including the bar seats. So that's pretty small.
Before I let you go, what's your future plans for the restaurant in terms of expansion, or do you see recreating it elsewhere? Or are you focused mainly on Water Street at this point, just because you're so immersed in that world?
Yeah, I'm focused on Water Street, and I think the restaurant, we get to a point where we do some brunch and some events like that, but not even thinking about opening for lunch. I know the city would like us to, but I think with the chef being so intimately involved in the dish creation and things, I think sticking with dinner. But definitely some complimentary type things here on Water Street. Open to suggestions.
Okay, that's good. Well, that's a great way to leave it. Open to suggestions.
Because I wanna stick down here. It's my neighborhood, right?
Yeah, no, that's a great way to leave it. My guest has been architect Windom Kimsey, along with his wife Annalisa Polk, have opened Azzurra Cucina Italiana, serving Italian classics in Henderson's reimagined Water Street. For everything about Azzurra Cucina Italiana, go to azzurracucina.com, and you can follow them on Instagram and Facebook. And Windom, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. Look forward to seeing you.
Thanks. See you next time.